Well, Mr. Karran, you've held this press conference this morning to try and clarify things. But first of all, can we touch on the Dudley Butt scenario? A member of your department has resigned.
Well, a situation that's regrettable the way that he's resigned. One's accepted his resignation. I have been told of his input as far as after his resignation. And we've got to move on. The situation is that I'm in difficult times as far as being Minister of Education, with the legacy of the cuts that have already taken place here. And what I've got to do is make sure that I protect core services and reassure the general public that the facilities as far as preschool education will go ahead in September, but it will go ahead in a different form.
Now, he says he wasn't listened to. He says he came to you and you just weren't going to take anything on board. Do you accept that it happened?
No, I don't accept that as what happened. But the point is, what I am interested in is I want to get it over to the general public. There's been a lot of misinformation, a lot of frightened parents worried about the limited provision that we've got. And let's be perfectly honest about it. This is a limited provision for only 50% of the clientele that would be able to facilitate. And that doesn't include more likely the people who would choose not to put their children in at this stage of their development between 3 and 4.
I will get to this thing, but can I just to finalise this thing, do you believe Mr. Butt the source of the leak last week?
I have to say that this is something that one will have to discuss further.
Do you think he was?
I think the situation as far as Mr. Butt has denied that, and I'm perfectly happy to accept that position as far as that's concerned.
So do you know who it was then?
I think that the problem is that I think there's been a number of agendas as far as this issue is concerned, and I'm very disappointed that education, my staff, and children have ended up the meat and the sandwich for the political shenanigans. But at the end of the day, that issue is over. I have to run a Department of Education. I have to try and help the Chief Minister with his Government of National Unity that has not only said that it's going to change the environment as far as how politics is done on this island, which it has to do, but also to start running government on the basis of not being able to throw money at problems.
Okay, I'm sorry, just to be clarified, do you know who made the leak?
I would not be able to swear on the Bible.
You think you know?
I would suggest I have ideas as far as that's concerned, and I think it would be wrong to accuse people without 100% proof as far as that's concerned. What I do think is important is the fact that I've got to get on with getting this process done. The policy that we came up as part of our alternatives as far as the cuts that had to be taken place, I made decisions on the basis of what was best for education. The decisions that were made on the basis that last year we had 24 people redeployed, 15 made redundant. The year before we had 31 redeployed and 7 made redundant. Now the thing was, primary and secondary schools had been cut enough. Now if I can provide the service in a different way and still provide a service that is providing what the clientele needs, then that has to be done, no matter how awkward and how politically hard it's going to be as far as that's concerned.
And you made the analogy of a supercar to more of a cheaper car, presumably. Is that what you're envisaging then?
Well, the point is, what I'm looking for is the fact that the emphasis needs to be recognised, that the emphasis needs to be looked at other jurisdictions, and the other jurisdictions which are equally as successful, if not better, as far as education is concerned, would be concentrating at that age more on play, social interaction, than on the issue of education. 3 and 4-year-olds, in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of people who are much more educated than me, it would be far better putting the emphasis on play and social interaction.
And that is clearly where you and Mr. Butt differ, because he thinks that's not the case. But You were making the point that some of the preschooling that was provided actually wasn't a sellout. It wasn't subscribed fully. Is that the case? Is that what you're saying as well?
It was interesting that in some areas, the problem with the present system, we haven't got it in the real hotspots. We haven't got a universal scheme for all. We've got big chunks of the island that have no provision at all. And what's more important is trying to live within our means, come up with ideas of how are we going to resolve problems. We haven't got the luxuries. The last administration and the administration before have squandered the opportunity of us having more fiscal flexibility. We have to live in these times. These times are difficult, and we've got to get that environment of change as far as the political change is concerned.